Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. Buckle up, because what I'm about to share still makes my hands shake. It happened on a Thursday, but not just any Thursday. It was supposed to be his Thursday. The one she reserved for her meetings downtown. The ones that didn't exist on her calendar. I always knew something was off, but I was done pretending. This time, I decided to trade silence for presence. I didn't tell her I found the messages. I didn't tell her I recognized his name, Camden Holt, because he used to comment on our vacation photos 5 years ago. I didn't tell her I saw the reservation under his name at the Velour Hotel when I quietly called from a burner phone. No, I bought a black suit. Not to look good, to look invisible. I wanted to blend into the kind of crowd she was willing to cheat in. When I arrived, the concierge greeted me like I belonged. I followed the sound of jazz, the clinking of wine glasses, the type of laughter that doesn't belong in real life. I kept walking until I saw her. She was standing near the bar, golden lighting behind her, wearing the same dress she told me no longer fit. She wasn't alone, but Camden wasn't there yet. And that was my opening. I approached slowly. My heart was beating so loud I thought someone might hear it over the music. She was texting, probably him, smiling at her phone, curling her hair behind her ear like she used to do for me. Then she turned and froze, not in guilt, not in surprise, in shock, because in her mind, I wasn't supposed to exist tonight. I wasn't part of her fantasy, but there I was, and I was done playing the fool. She blinked twice, and for a moment, I thought she might pretend not to know me. Her grip tightened around the glass of white wine she was nursing, and her perfect little smile, the one she wore for cameras and strangers, cracked like cheap porcelain. "Gilbert, what are you doing here?" she asked, barely above a whisper. That question hit me like a slap, not because of the words, but the tone. No guilt, just irritation, like I'd embarrassed her, like I was the one out of place. She didn't ask if something was wrong. She didn't hug me or fake a smile. She looked like a magician caught before the reveal, desperate for the curtain to drop back down. I glanced at the phone in her hand, still open to a message thread. His name was right there, Camden Blackheart. I didn't need to read the texts. I'd already read too many. I knew about the hotel nights, the shared playlists, the inside jokes. I knew she sent him voice notes with the same laugh she used to save for me. "I could ask you the same thing," I said, steadying my breath. "Except I already know the answer." Her jaw tightened, but she didn't deny it. Not even a pathetic excuse. She just shifted her body, subtly angling herself away from me, as if that could undo what I saw. "I didn't expect you to come here," she said finally. "Not sorry, just inconvenienced." "I know," I replied. "That's why I did." There was a pause. People around us kept drinking, dancing, talking. The world didn't stop because my marriage just shattered. And maybe that was the worst part. "I need to step outside," she muttered. "No," I said. "You need to stay? Because Camden's about to walk in, and I want to see what story you tell him." Her eyes widened. That did it. She opened her mouth to speak, and that's when a voice behind me said, "Nora." I turned, and for the first time, I saw the man she was willing to burn everything for. There he stood, tall, smug, perfectly pressed like he'd just walked out of a magazine ad for overpriced cologne. His voice, polished and confident, still hung in the air. "Nora," he said again, this time slower, almost amused. She didn't answer. Not right away. She was caught between two lives. The polished fantasy she'd been building behind my back and the quiet, tired reality of the man she left behind to do it. For a second, I thought she might faint. Instead, she smiled. Not at me. At him. Soft, fragile, fake. "Camden," she said, her voice coated in syrup. "I didn't know you'd be here this early." Early? That's what she chose to say. Not, "This isn't what it looks like," or, "I can explain." Just that he arrived too soon to give her time to fix her disaster. He looked at me, eyes scanning, calculating. He wasn't shocked. Maybe curious, maybe slightly annoyed. But not scared. He knew who I was. I could tell. And he didn't flinch. "You must be Gilbert," he said, extending a hand I didn't take. "I've heard so much about you." I wanted to punch him. Not because he stole my wife, but because he said it like he was talking to a neighbor, like this wasn't grotesque and humiliating. I stared at his hand, and then at Nora, who finally found the courage to look me in the eye. "Let's not do this here," she said quickly, stepping between us like she was diffusing some minor workplace tension. "Can we talk somewhere private?" "No," I said flatly. You wanted public. You got public. Her expression tightened. Camden gently placed his hand on her back. I watched her lean into it without hesitation. That simple gesture shattered me more than the affair itself. She didn't flinch, didn't pull away. She belonged there, in that touch. I nodded slowly. So this is it. No more hiding. She said nothing. Just looked at me like I was an interruption. Not her husband. Not a person she vowed to love. Just some unwanted reminder of a life she had no use for anymore. I should have walked away. Instead, I asked a question I wasn't ready for the answer to. How long? Nora didn't answer right away. She looked down at her wine like the answer might be floating at the bottom of the glass. Camden didn't say anything either. He just stood there with that same effortless confidence, like he'd already won. I hated how calm he looked, how untouchable he made himself seem while my entire world cracked beneath my feet. Then, finally, she spoke. Almost a year, she said. I felt the floor tilt. I had been sleeping next to her, cooking for her, folding her laundry while she was out creating a whole new life. For almost a year. That number rang in my ears like an alarm I couldn't shut off. Not a month, not a mistake. A decision. A lifestyle. You lied to me for a year, I muttered. My throat felt like it was tightening around every word. And you let me think I was the problem this whole time. Gilbert, she started, her voice softening like that would fix it. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. I laughed. I actually laughed, and not because anything was funny. It was that dry, hollow kind of laugh that escapes when your brain short-circuits from emotional overload. What way was it supposed to happen? I asked. Was I just supposed to find divorce papers in the kitchen one morning while you were off playing happy couple in another man's bed? Camden shifted slightly, but he didn't speak. He had the good sense to let her sit in the mess she made. But she didn't look guilty. She looked inconvenienced, embarrassed to be caught. Not because she hurt me, but because the illusion broke. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said, as if that erased everything. I felt invisible. And there it was, the knife with my name on it. Invisible. I gave her everything I had, and she still managed to not see me. But I saw her now. Truly. No filters, no excuses. And suddenly, I didn't want her back. I wanted the truth. All of it. I took a breath and asked her the question that had been rotting inside me for weeks. Did you ever actually love me? Or was I just a placeholder until someone like him showed up? Her silence was louder than anything I'd heard all night. I don't know what I expected her to say. Maybe some grand confession. Maybe regret. Maybe an apology that would crack through her polished detachment. But when I asked her if she ever really loved me, all I got was a pause. Not the kind that's filled with emotion, the kind that's filled with calculation. She finally exhaled and said, I did. In the beginning. That hurt more than if she'd said nothing. Camden stepped back slightly, as if giving her space to destroy me more efficiently. I stared at her, this woman I'd memorized for nearly a decade. Every quirk, every curve, every version of her from every stage of our lives. And now, standing in that hotel, in a dress she'd never worn for me, she looked like a stranger. You were safe, Gilbert, she added. You were stable. Like a retirement plan. I snapped, my voice rising for the first time. Something boring you invest in, hoping the payoff comes later? She flinched, barely, but I saw it. I didn't cheat because you were boring, she said quickly, like that was supposed to be comforting. I cheated because I was drowning. You didn't notice. He did. There it was. My fault somehow. Classic. I turned to Camden, who'd been politely watching the emotional demolition. And you? What's your role in this, besides being the oxygen for drowning wives? He shrugged. I didn't pursue her, but I didn't run either. I nodded. So you're not a predator. Just a convenient escape. Nora grabbed my arm, suddenly panicked. Gilbert, please, let's not do this here. This is a work event. People are watching. That's when I truly saw her. Not as my wife, not even as a person, but as an actress, terrified the script was falling apart in front of the audience. It wasn't the affair that bothered her, it was the exposure. Good, I said, stepping back. Let them watch. Maybe it'll save someone else from mistaking a performance for a promise. And with that, I walked out. But the story wasn't over. Because 2 days later, someone unexpected showed up at my door with information that changed everything. I spent the next 48 hours in a haze, not angry, not even heartbroken. Numb. I didn't leave the house. Didn't answer texts. I just moved from room to room like a ghost. Her side of the closet still smelled like her perfume, and I hated how I missed it. I hated how pathetic that made me feel. How even betrayal couldn't kill the stupid loyalty I had for her. Then, late Sunday afternoon, I heard a knock. Not a hard one. A soft, rhythmic tap, almost like the person on the other side wasn't sure they should be there. I opened the door, half expecting Nora, half hoping it was no one at all. But it wasn't her. It was Celine, her younger sister. We hadn't spoken in months. Not out of spite, just distance. She was always polite, warm even, but we never had real conversations. Still, she looked nervous, like she was about to confess something that had been eating her alive. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside without saying a word. She sat on the edge of the couch, clutching her purse like it was some kind of anchor. "I heard what happened at the hotel," she began. "Nora didn't tell me. One of her coworkers did. And I need to tell you something you don't know." I braced myself. "She's been lying to both of you," Celine said. "Camden isn't the only one. He's just the one she chose to keep." The air in the room went thin. My stomach twisted. I thought I had reached the bottom, but somehow, Celine's words dropped me into an even darker place. "What are you saying?" I whispered. "She was seeing someone else before Camden. A guy from her gym. It started during your 7th year together. I only found out because I saw her texting him once while we were shopping. She swore it was over, but I don't think it ever really was." I leaned forward, elbows on knees, hands trembling. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was a pattern, a system, and I was just the background character in her entire story. "She used you," Celine continued, quieter now. "She never wanted stability. She just wanted somewhere to land when the thrill wore off." I couldn't breathe, not because I was surprised, but because part of me already knew, and I had chosen denial. Until now. After Celine left, I sat in silence for hours, not moving, not thinking, just existing in that gray space between disbelief and inevitability. Her words echoed through the house like whispers I couldn't escape. She never wanted stability. She just wanted somewhere to land. It wasn't just a single betrayal anymore. It was an entire architecture of lies, built quietly while I was busy fixing the sink, folding towels, and being grateful she hadn't left yet. That night, I wandered into her home office, a room I rarely entered. She always kept it organized, minimal, sterile. But now it looked different. Cold, artificial, like nothing in there had ever belonged to us, only to her carefully curated version of herself. That's when I saw the folder. It was tucked behind her printer, labeled Taxes 2022, but I knew instantly it wasn't about taxes. It was too heavy, and curiosity, mixed with pain and the kind of dread that makes your heart thud in your ears, pushed me to open it. Inside were printouts, dozens of them, emails, hotel bookings, messages between her and multiple men, not just Camden or the gym guy. Names I didn't even recognize. Some of the messages were months old. Others were dated weeks after our anniversary dinner, the one where she said, "I don't need anything fancy. Just you." Lies. All of it. There were photos too, selfies taken in hotels, mirror shots, screenshots of flirty conversations with heart emojis and phrases like, "He's clueless," and "I can't wait to get away from him." One note scribbled in the margin of a page said, "Need to be smart. He's not stupid, just slow." I sat on the floor, folder open in my lap, shaking. I wasn't just betrayed. I was mocked, played, laughed at behind my back by the woman I thought I knew better than anyone. And in that moment, something inside me cracked, not with rage, not with bitterness, but with clarity. She wasn't coming back from this, and I wasn't going to hide in shame anymore. She walked through the door 2 days later like nothing had happened. Hair curled, sunglasses still perched on her head, humming as she set her purse down. The same purse I'd seen in one of the photos inside the folder. For a second, she looked around, confused. The place was too quiet, too clean. She didn't notice what was missing until she reached the hallway. The closet, half empty. The drawers, mine, cleared. The safe, open and bare. The kitchen counter, a single manila folder placed neatly in the center, beside her wedding ring. She turned and saw me standing by the door, suitcase in hand, dressed in the same shirt I wore the night we first moved in. It felt symbolic, like I was taking the version of me she'd forgotten and walking him out of her story. Her smile cracked. "Gilbert, what is this?" "Truth," I said simply. "Everything you never thought I'd find." She reached for the folder. Wait, you went through my office. I went through my life, I replied, and realized you were only renting space in it. She opened it. Her eyes flicked through the pages, panic blooming across her face. You're leaving? No, I said, stepping past her. I left days ago. This is just the formality. She chased me down the steps, voice rising. We can talk about this. I already did. For years. You just weren't listening. And then I walked away. No dramatic exit. No need for revenge. Just peace. Since then, I've moved cities, started over, and finally begun writing again. Something I gave up when I was too busy holding our life together alone. I sleep better. I laugh more. I exist in color again. She tried to reach out once, a vague email about closure. I didn't respond. The chapter closed itself. To anyone who's ever felt like the invisible one in the relationship, you're not crazy. You're not broken. And you're not alone. Thanks for following my story here on Reddit Confessions. Now I want to hear from you. What moment in this story shocked you the most? Was it the hotel confrontation, the folder, or Celine's visit? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. And remember, sometimes, walking away is the comeback.